implementing DNS server using bind. First, what is DNS server? So as we know that every machine on a network has an IP address assigned to it, and which is like a unique address of that machine in our network. And in similar way, every website on the internet has an IP address associated to it, but we normally don't use those IP addresses to access the websites. Rather, we use a name like google.com or facebook.com. So just imagine how hard would it be to remember IP addresses of all those websites, and if these names were not in use. So how does this name resolution translation into IP addresses? That is because of DNS server. So DNS server do what? It resolve those names. It resolve those IPs to name and name to IP, because in network all the things, all the communication is done on IP address, but IP address is a number and we are not able to remember those numbers. But it's human can remember names but cannot remember numbers. So we have this DNS server, and DNS server do what? It resolve these names for us. Now in our local network also, if we have multiple machines, for example we have 100, 200, 500 machines, it is very hard for us to remember all those IP addresses of those machines. So we have DNS server, we can have DNS server for our local translation also. But the internet is basically or totally working on DNS, because if the DNS is not there, it is very hard for us to access the internet, because we don't have to remember the name for every website because of DNS. Imagine if you don't have a DNS server, then you have to remember thousands of IP addresses, and that is not possible for us. And that is why there is a DNS available which is doing the job and resolving the name for us. So DNS, short of what? DNS means what? Domain name system, and it is a service which translates IP address into domain name and vice versa. That means IP to name and name to IP. Now in environment with only a limited numbers of Linux machines, we can make entries into this etc host file for associating an IP addresses with a name. But when we have a large infrastructure with lots of system and resources, then this file will not work. And for this kind of scenario, we implement the bind DNS in our environment. Now, because there was no DNS when the first network was started, there was no DNS. It was only some machines was there, like 10, 20 machines were there. So no requirement for DNS was there. So the resolution is still, they need the resolution is still, they are not able to remember 20 machines, 10 machines IP addresses. So what they do that time, they use host file. Now this host file funda is still available, and it is still in use. That means it is still in use. That means still our machine checks the host file first. If you give any name to your machine, still it will check the host file, whether it is a Linux machine or it is a Windows machine or it is any other device. Is it a router or switch? Still they go for host file. They go for host file first for the name resolution. So that file is also available in our Linux system. That is under etc we have file name as a hosts. So we can add name entries into this file if we have less number of hosts. But if number of hosts are increased, as happened on the old days, when internet spread, it spread very largely, and network becomes very big, internet become very big. It is very hard for that server to have entries of host file. So what they have come up with this new service, which is new protocol, which is called DNS. Now we call it bind DNS. Why we call it bind DNS? What is this bind? So the bind is actually Barkley Internet Name Domain. It is a short of this Barkley Internet Name Domain. Now in most widely used open source software that implement DNS protocols for internet, which provide us the ability to implement IP to domain name conversion and vice versa. This is actually developed in 1980 in Barkley Laboratory. So they have developed this bind. This is actually the first standard for the DNS. Then it has become a standard protocol, and now everyone is using this DNS. So this is the first one which is introduced for the Unix systems in 1980, and now it becomes a standard protocol that is called DNS now, and that is why it is called bind. And in our Linux system, if we want to use the DNS server or DNS application, we want to implement the DNS, then we need a packages and we need a software that is called bind. So it is still called bind, and it is used as an open source. Now the next thing is how this DNS works. So first, in our DNS we have zones. First we should see what we have a different type of DNS in our bind DNS. So we have different types of bind DNS. Now, number one, master server. Master DNS server. Now, this server is what? This server has a read and write copy of DNS database. That means whatever the database we have for the DNS, it has a read-write copy of that database. That means we can create records in this master server, and we can update, we can delete records on this master server. So whatever the server we have, it is working. If it is working as a master server, then we can do what? We can create and delete records here in this master server. So we can do what? We can create records here, and also we can delete in this master server. Now the next server or next type is slave DNS server. Now this type do what? This has read-only copy. It has read-only copy of DNS database. That means in this we cannot create or delete any records. We cannot create or delete any records. So it gets all its records updated from master server. So it acts as a slave server for the master, and it gets update all the records from the master server. Now we have another type which is caching only DNS server. Now this cache only DNS server do what? This server has no local records. We can create records, we can delete records, but it does not have any local records. It do all the resolution, it do all the name resolutions based on the recursive query. Or by the recursive query. So it does not have any records. It only uses recursive query to update do the name resolution. And it do what? And it caches all these records. And that is why it is called caching only server. Now, these are the type of DNS server we have. Now the next thing is what? In all these types of DNS server, what we have two lookup zones. So we have two lookup zones in every server. In all these servers. So whatever these servers are, we have two lookup zones. What are those two lookup zones? So first we have forward lookup zone, and we have backward reverse lookup zone. Reverse lookup zone. Now what these do? Forward or reverse? What do they have? Now in forward lookup zone we have, it has records related to name to IP, related to resolving name to IP. That means it has records related to resolving the name to IP queries. So any query comes for resolving name to IP. That means when you give a name and you want to get an IP address of that name, then the query will be resolved by the forward lookup zone. Then in the reverse lookup zone, we have the query. It has records to resolve related to resolving IP to name queries. That means when you give an IP address and you ask for the name, then it will be resolved by the reverse lookup zone. So these are the two lookup zones we have, and in each lookup zones we have different records. In each lookup zones we have different records of records of DNS servers. So these records, they are some important records we have. So in every DNS server, every zone of the DNS server, either it is forward and reverse zone, we have these 7 important records. 7 important records. First record is host A. Host A is the A record for the IPv4, and it is for the name to IP resolution. It will be available in forward lookup zone. for resolving the name to IP. Then host AAAA, it is actually the same host A record to resolve the name to IP, but it is for IPv6. Then we have PTR record, it is called pointer record, and this is to resolve IP to name, and this record you will see in reverse lookup zone, and this is to resolve name to IP address, IP to name. Then we have NS records. NS records are for name servers. So whatever the name server we have in the DNS domain, they will consider as a NS record. Their IPs will be registered as a NS record. SOA is startup authority, and it is the first DNS server we have in the DNS domain, and this server is the responsible server to update the information in all the other DNS servers. Like when you update one of the DNS server, suppose that DNS server record must be updated on all the other DNS servers we have in our DNS domain, and that how frequently they will update, what will be how they will get update, and how refresh time, update time, that everything will be managed by this SOA. Then SRV records are for services. So whatever services we have in the domain, so which machine has which service, it is recorded as a SRV record in our DNS server. This is very important record for the DNS of Microsoft. So when you have a Microsoft domain, that means you are having a Microsoft Active Directory domain, and Active Directory stores all its resources records, services records as a SRV record in the DNS. That is why they are integrated with DNS. That means in Windows, the Active Directory of Windows is very, very tightly integrated with DNS of Windows. We cannot have separately Active Directory without DNS, but DNS can have separate. That means in Windows also you can have separate DNS without any Active Directory, but Active Directory cannot live without DNS. So here in Linux system, when we install DNS, it is not integrated with any directory service we have. Then we have a record called MX record. MX record is the record for the mail server. So if any mail server we have in our domain, so it will be named as a MX record in our DNS server. So that in any client machine wants to access the DNS server for MX server, it wants the MX server record, then DNS server can present that record by using this MX. Now there is one more record is there. It is called CNAME. CNAME is also called alias. This record is an alias of any other host A record. That means if we want to create multiple aliases, then we use this record as a CNAME. That is called canonical name. Now what that means, alias? That means suppose we have a machine which name is PC1, but I want to create another name for that machine. Like suppose I have server 1 and I want to use this server as a FTP server, and for that I want to use a name for that server is as a FTP, but the real name for the server is server 1. So I can do what? I can create new alias for that name, for that server as a FTP, and that record I will store it as a CNAME. So when anyone asks server.example.com, so it will get the same IP, and if anyone asks for the ftp.example.com, so it will still get the same IP from this CNAME, from the CNAME record. So these are the different records we have in our DNS server. Now how they will get? Now we will see DNS server name resolution process. Now, how they process the name resolution? So this is a process of resolving the name in DNS server and how DNS server works. Now, I'm giving this example as an internet DNS server. So if you are using this name resolution things on internet, so how it works? So first, this is your machine who is requesting something, and this one is connected to internet. Now you are sitting on this machine and you ask for this name. In a browser you type this name. Now what happened? Your name first, your machine will try to get the name from its cache, from this machine's cache. Now cache means what? If it has resolved this name previously, so it can get it from the cache. Every machine do what? It do caching for the name resolution things. So if it is under the cache, then it can give you the answer from the cache. But if it is not under the cache, because suppose whenever the machine restarts, cache will be clear. So suppose you are accessing the site first time, so it will not be there in the cache. So next thing what it will do, your machine will do, it will check the host file. Remember, it will still check the host file first. Before going for the DNS server, it will still check the host file. So first it will check the host file that whether I have any information about this name or not. So right now in every machine, whether it is Windows, Linux machine, whatever, we still have host files in our system. But those files does not contain any name resolution. They only have the local host option. They only have local host information. Local host for 127, nothing else. So mostly you will not find anything in that. But if you like to have in that, that means if you are having only 10-20 machine in your network and you don't want to have a DNS server, then you have to add all the machines record in all the machines. That means if you have 10 machines, then for that 10 machines record, you have to add into each and every machine. That means every 10 machine you have to add every records in a host file. That will be difficult if you have lots of machines. So you use DNS server. Now, host file does not have any information, so what your machine will do, it will check whether it has any DNS server IP available or not. If it is not having any DNS server IP, then it will not do what? Any resolution, it will give you error directly. Now, if it is having an option to have a DNS server IP in its record, then what it will do, it will send this query. It will send this query to DNS server, as you see, number 1, and it will go for the local DNS server first. Now local DNS server, that means the server which is giving the server from where you are getting the internet. You are getting the internet from your service provider, and they are having their own DNS server for that. So maybe they are having their own DNS server, or maybe you are inside your environment, you have your DNS server. Otherwise, you see, like this is what the DNS server for the local system. Now what it will do, this DNS server first checks its cache. Now if it has resolved for any other machine before, then it has a cache for that record. Now if it is not having any cache, then what it will do, it will send the record, it will check what first cache, and then if it is not having any cache, then what it will do, it will send the record to the root DNS server. Now every normal DNS server has the record for root DNS servers. There are 13 root DNS servers available in a world. So every DNS server has a record for those 13 root hint DNS servers. So it will send the record, it will send the request to root hint DNS server. Now we are asking which IP. It is not this one, it is basically we are asking for this, or we are asking for this name. We are asking for basically this name. So what, this is not the name, this is its own name. This machine's name is this. So it is asking this name first. So what this DNS server do first, it is a normal DNS server. So first it checks the domain name here. what is the domain name, and this full name is called fully qualified domain name. That is this gr.cs.umas.edu. So first this DNS server do what? It checks the domain name first. What is the domain name? And it try to match this domain name with its own domain name. Is it my own domain or not? So every DNS server, when they get any request, they do what? They first try to match the record with its own DNS domain. Now if it is not matching, that means what? It says this DNS server says that I am not the authority DNS server. I am not authoritative. That means I am not able to respond either yes or no. So what I can do? I can get the record for you. So what this DNS server says, I can get the record for you because I am not authoritative for this domain, because I am not having this domain information. So what it will do, it will say I will get the record for you, and what it will do for that, it will send the request to root hint DNS server. Now root hint DNS server records all the DNS server has those records. So it will send the closest root hint server for that. Now root hint server do what? It checks this, what it is. Is it edu? Is it .com? Is it .org? Is it .net? So whatever that is, this root hint DNS server has records of all those servers, and those servers called top level DNS servers. Those called top level DNS server. Those top level DNS servers are for com, are for net, .net, .org, .edu, .gov. So these are the different top level DNS servers we have in an internet environment. So all these servers information available in this root hint server. So root hint server checks, it is talking about which top level DNS server. Is it edu? Is it .com? Is it .net? So according to this root hint server will give the reply as a reference. Remember, this is special DNS server, so it will give not a reply. It will not reply the answer. It will reply the reference. So what root hint server says, this local DNS server, that I don't have a record, and you can go for the edu server. Top level server was edu server. You have to go for edu server. So this DNS server then sends the request to edu server. Now edu server will check what is the domain name. Now whenever we register our domain, whenever we open any website to access from internet, what we do basically, we register our domain name into these top level DNS servers. That means if your domain name is .com, then it will be registered in com servers. If your domain name is .net, then it will be registered here in net. If your domain name is .edu, then it will be registered here in edu, org, gov, and so on. So if you register your domain, then it will be registered here, and your information will be stored there. Information like your DNS server IP with your domain name will be registered there. Like this server, edu server, this domain has registered their domain into this edu. So they have a record like the domain name and the IP of their DNS server into this edu server, edu top level DNS server. So when this DNS server sends a request to this top level DNS server, it will check that whether I have this record for the domain here or not. So it has a record there, and if you have not registered, then it will not have a record and it will deny the request, and then you will get the error. And if it is registered domain, then it will have a record with the DNS server of its. So what this DNS server do, this top level DNS server, it will also not reply with answer, it will reply with reference. It will say that you can go to this DNS server for it, this DNS server. So what it will send the request. Now this DNS server will send the request to this DNS server. Now this is not not any special kind of DNS server, so it will check the domain first, whether the domain is of this machine or not. So if it is for this machine, if it is for this DNS server, then the DNS server says yes, I am the authoritative DNS server. And authoritative DNS server means only I can answer, nobody else can answer. I can answer, that means if I say yes, then yes. If I say no, then no. Nobody else can answer. I am the authoritative DNS server. So when it decides that I am the authoritative DNS server, then what it do? It will check this record, that whether I have this name or not, this machine name or not. So this machine name will be stored in the forward lookup zone as a name of the machine, and host A record, this is a name to IP record, so host A and then IP. So it checks its forward zone, and then if the record is there, then it will reply the answer, and if the record is not there, then it will give the error. So if the record is still there, it finds the record, then it will reply the record to this DNS server, and then this DNS server, this query was waiting from us. So this DNS server will do what? It will reply the answer to this machine, and also it will do cache the record and reply it to this machine. Now this machine, our machine will do what? Our machine gets the IP for the server here, this machine. So now our machine will do what? It will directly send the query to this server, and it will get the record or reply from that server. And also it will cache the record, so that next time if it wants to do the answer, if it wants to access the same thing, it will don't have to go like this. And this DNS server also caches the record, so that if any other machine try to access the same thing, then it don't have to go through all these things. So this is what the query process, and this query process happens very quickly because it uses UDP. It uses UDP so that it can go very quickly. So DNS server, DNS protocol use UDP for transport the services, transmission, and it uses port number 53. Port number 53 for it. So all these queries works on UDP port number 53. But DNS also uses port number 53 of TCP. Now TCP it uses only for exchanging the records between two DNS servers. Suppose if this DNS server is not able to handle the records load, I create two DNS server or three DNS server. So what? These two DNS server must be updated with their records. That means both the server must have same records. Otherwise we will not have some redundancy. Like if this server goes down, then this server can reply. But if both the records are same. So when these records, suppose I add some record in this DNS server, so this record must be updated on the other DNS server, and that updation, it is done on port number 53, and it is done on TCP because it needs to be reliable. Because speed we don't need here we need reliability. So TCP works for this. 53 port number TCP is for sending the records from one DNS server to other DNS server. But all the queries happen on port number 53 of UDP. This is what internet domain name resolution. But if your domain is there, and in that domain you have multiple machines, so you can create your own DNS for it. And when your machine wants to resolve it, then your machines will have to be a fully qualified domain name, like this is example.com. So if your domain name is example.com, so all your machines will be having a fully qualified domain name like pc1.example.com, pc2.example.com. So when your machine, when you try to connect this machine 1 to 2, so you will say I want to ping pc1 to pc2.example.com. So your query will go to this DNS server. DNS server will check the .com, is it same? So it says authoritative. No other can answer. It checks the record, and when it gets the record, it will get the reply, and your machine will connect to that other machine. Now if you try to connect from this machine, this local machine, to this internet machine, so your request will go to your local DNS server. Now local DNS server checks the domain name. It says, okay, this is not my domain, that means I am not authoritative. So it will send the request to internet DNS server. Then internet DNS server will do all these things and get the record and give the record to you. Now in this we can have multiple DNS servers, and multiple DNS servers, all DNS servers can be a master server. They can update the records, but in some time we use the slave DNS server. Slave DNS server, so that we don't want anybody to change the records. Because suppose the server is not secure in that position, that site, then we can use slave server there, so that anyone cannot change anything there. So in only that condition we use slave server. Other than that we use only master servers. Next thing was the other server is called caching only server. Caching only server we use only for caching. That means the server, basically it is normal server. So that caching only server is basically normal server. Only the difference is what? It does not have any records, and the domain, it does not have any domain also. It will has a default domain for the local domain. The domain name for the caching only server is mostly local domain. That means the machine name is localhost.local domain. Now .local domain will never be resolved. It will never be authoritative domain. So any request comes for the any domain, it will not match this local domain. So what it do? It will always do recursive queries to get the record, and whenever it gets the record, it caches the record in its cache. So it is called caching only server. Otherwise it is a normal server, but normally it does not have any records. It only do recursive queries, because the domain name for that domain DNS server is local domain. It is a default domain name, and that means what? It will not resolve any name for this local domain. It is not authoritative for this. It is authoritative for only local domain, and no query comes for this. All the queries come for any other domain. So this is what the process of name resolution in DNS. Now we will see how we can configure it in our DNS server, in our Linux server. Now first we have host file available in our every machine. That means host files are still working and they are still there. So if suppose we have only 1 or 2 machines, then we can do what? We can use the host files. If you want to see the host file, it is under etc, and the name of the file is this hosts. And in this file you can see there is only one entry about localhost 127 loopback IP. This is for IPv4 and this is for IPv6 loopback address. So if you want to resolve 1, 2, 3 machines, then you can directly add the number here, name and IP here, and it will be resolved. You don't need DNS server. But if we have lots of machines there, then it is very difficult for us, because you have to add entries on every machine and for every IP address. Like this IP address, this machine has an IP address of 192.168.1.12. What is the name of this machine? server.example.com. We have another machine. IP address of this machine is not permanent. Systemctl restart. network manager. It is right now, it is what, 192.168.1.20. So if I want to resolve this, then what? And the name for this machine is client.example.com. So for example, I want to resolve that name, I want to ping that machine. So I will use what? I can ping that, I can connect with this IP address, and it is getting the reply. Now it is very difficult for me to remember the IP, so what I want to ping with the name. So if I say I want to ping client.example.com, I'm not getting the reply because there is no DNS server available. So what I can do, I can add this name into my host file so that I can resolve it. So if you are not having a DNS server, then we can use this. It will not reply, it is taking time because there is no, it says what? Unknown host. So what I can do, I can add this name into host file. So how we can make entry? We can open the host file and then we can type IP address first, then we can give a full name, then we can give a short name. Full name, short name, and then we will save the file and restart the network service. Done. Now when I try to ping that IP again, the name again, and you can see now I am pinging, I am getting the reply. Now where it is getting resolved, it is getting resolved from the host file. Now if I want to do like this, so if it is a small network, 2, 3, 4, 5 machines, it is okay. But when you have 100, 200 machines, it will be very difficult for us. So what we can do, we can create our own local DNS server so that we can do resolve name from them. So if we want to create it, so we can use this. Now I don't need host file entry here, but still I can have both. I can put both the entries if I can do that. Okay, so for configuring the DNS server, the first requirement is what? The package requirement. The first is what? Package requirement. What are the packages we need? So packages we need is bind. The packages we need, it is called bind. We can check. I have configured yum server, so I will check yum list bind. I will give a star here. That means I am saying whatever the name of the package name will be bind. I don't know whatever after that bind. I need all the packages which starts with bind. So I have these packages here. Some packages are installed and some packages are available to install. And these available to installs are only some library and package files. But this is the main important package which is called bind. This is the package we want to install configure the DNS server. Now if it is not installed, then what we can do? We can install it by using yum. Yum install bind star. I want to install all starting with bind. So now it will install all these packages which is not installed, but these are installed already. The main package is only bind, which is we need. So what I will do, I will press enter if I want to install it, and I am using yum because it is having a dependencies. So I can say yes, and it is going to be installed. So first check the package. The package requirement is bind. So if the bind is not there, then we do what? We install the package. Now after installing the package, The next thing is what are the important files we have. So for checking that, I will list those files which comes with the package bind. So these are the files which comes with this bind package. Now what are these files? So first, under etc directory we have these configuration files. Now among these configuration files we have important file this. This is the main configuration file for the DNS. So if we want to configure the DNS, then we can configure directly in this file. Then we have this other file also. This file is actually for the default zones. Default zones by the standards of RFC 1912 request for commit. This is just a standard. If you check RFC 1912, then it will inform you about, it is having an information about what is the default zones and all that. So based on that, it has a file which has information about those default zones. So why we need those zones and what we have, so it is, you can get information about it in RFC 1912 request for commit, but we have the zone information here in this file. It is basically a default zones of default.coms, default localhost.local domain. And if we want to use this server as a caching only server, then we can use only this default zones. So this is the main configuration files, and this file contains the information about the default zones. Next, we need to know the service. So the service for the DNS is named.service, and it is still it is also under the same user lib systemd system directory, where we have all the target units, all the units like all the targets and services. So this directory also contains the service file for the DNS, and it is named.service. Then we have some commands here, bind, and then we have these some other commands, and these commands are under sbin. That means these are root commands, and these are command to configure some keys and sign zones. And then we have some command here to check the zone, check the configurations. Then we have some documentations here, documentation related to the DNS configurations and everything other things what we have. We have some sample files here. We have configuration sample file. We have this zone, default zone configuration sample file. We have other sample files. Then we have man pages of these commands and configuration files. Then we have a separate log for this DNS server under where log directory name.log. So this is the separate log we have for the DNS server. Then this is the directory. This is the directory for the DNS database. That means whatever the DNS database we have, like forward lookup zone database, reverse lookup zone database. So all those database files, all those files, zone information files will be it will store under this where named directory. And in that named directory we have some files already there. Some of the files, like this file, contain the information about root hint servers, name.ca. If you see this file, you will see the information about root hint servers. As I said, every DNS server has an information about all the root hint servers. So when you see this name.ca file, you see this, it has information about all the root hint servers, and these are the information. Like you can see, this is the name and this is the IP. Name, IP, name, IP, name, IP, name, IP. And you can see the record type is A because it is named to IP record. And this AA is basically what? For IPv6. Now how many record we have? As I said, it is 13 routine servers we have. So how many we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Because some of the names are 2 times. You can see A is 2 time, this F is 2 time, H is 2 time, I, J, K, L, M 2 times. 2 times because this A is also IPv4 and also it has IPv6. That is why it is 2 times. So if you remove this, if you go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, then it is actually 13. So all these 13 routine servers information is available in this file. Then you have other files, like for example this file has an information about the default forward lookup zone, and this one has an information about default reverse lookup zone. So these are the default files and these are the important files we have. Now if we want to configure the server, first if we want to configure the default caching only server, then we don't have to configure anything. We just have to start the service. Then when we start the service, the server will start and it will start with the default settings. And default settings, that means it will start with the default zone information. Default zone information is only local host, local domain. So it will not have a record for any other domain. So what it will become? It will become caching only server. So whatever query comes for this server, it will not be the authoritative server for that query. So it will always do recursive query, and when it do the recursive queries, it will store the information as a cache and it will become what? Caching only server. So if we want to configure this server as a caching only server, so we just don't have to do anything, just install the package and start the service. Systemctl, start the service named. And when we start the service, your server will start working as a caching only server. It will get the default zone information from etc name.rfc1912.zones. If you check this file, you will see it has the information about the zone, and that zone information is what? localhost.localdomain. So only localhost.localdomain information is there, and for only 127.0.0.1 IP. So your server will work as a caching only server. But I don't want to make it as a caching only server. So what I can do, I can configure it for my domain, and my domain name is example.com. So what I will do here, I will start, after installing, I will go to the configuration file. I will open the configuration file, and here I will do the configuration. Now first, you can see these are comments and the configurations are starting from here. And you can see it is like a small programming. So it is starting from here, options, and the program starts here and it will end here. These are all options. Now what options we have here? So first, listen on port number 53. So DNS server always listen on port number 53. This is the default port. You can change it from here, but it is not recommended. Now it is listening on what? 127. Now 127, that means it is listening only from the local host. Local host, that means it will accept query from only local machine, that means itself. If any other server, if any other machine try to send the query to this server, it will not accept the query because it is listening on loopback interface. We can verify by this, but if it is the service is not running. So when you start the server, it will only listen on loopback interface. We can check by netstate command. Netstate ntpl, and the 53 is not running DNS. So because we have not started the DNS right now, but when we start it, it will listen only on localhost. Why? Because of this setting. Now I want this server to listen on my network, on my IP address, so that it can accept the query request from all the machines of our network. So what I can do here, first I will add my IP address here, 192.168.1.12, and remember to give semicolon here. Remember, if you miss any dot or column or anything, then you will get error. Now I can remove this 127 from here, but it is not recommended. You should always have 127 available. That means this is our IP, it is listening on this IP, but it will also listen on loopback interface, so that our machine always connect our own machine, like our server always knows that me itself is a DNS server. So in case if suppose this IP is changed, or if this interface which has this IP is not working, still our DNS server will work, because it knows that I am the one who is DNS server by this 127 IP. Then we have IPv6 also. If you are working with IPv6, then you can add IPv6 also here. Then it is saying the directory information. It is defining the directory here for the database of DNS, which is where name directory. And it is also defining here for the cache dump here, for the caching information, for the named status information, for the memory status information. It is defining some files there. Now this option says allow query. Now remember, this option is saying only for listening. Listening, that means on 53 port number, it will listen on 127 or your IP, so that it can accept the request. But this is what query. Query, that means you want to resolve the name, then you will send the query, recursive query. So that recursive query will be accepted by this server or not. This will define by this option. Now right now it says here localhost. Now localhost means it will only accept the query, recursive query for the name resolution from only 127 IP. It will not accept query from any other IP. So if we want to make this server as a DNS server for all the other machines, so those other machines will send the query to this server. So it should accept those queries. So for that I will change this localhost to any, or even you can put your domain name, even you can put your network only. I can say any means I will accept the query from any server. Then I did only two changes. I added my machine PC server IP here, and I only added here any, removing the localhost. Then when you go down, you will see the option to enable or disable the recursive query. That means if this server is not an authoritative server, then it will do the recursive query to find the IP address, and it will go to root hint server, top level DNS server. And if you don't want to do that, then you can put it no here. Then it will disable the recursive query. Then whether it is authoritative or non-authoritative query, it will respond with this server. It will not go for the root hint server or top level DNS server. It will directly say yes or no from here. This option for securing the DNS queries by enabling the DNS secure, DNS validation, and it will use these keys. These keys comes with this, so it will use this security key for securing it. Now the setting ends here, options. Now the next option starts here, which says work the logging. So the logging is enabled and it is going to log into this run file. This is for the running thing, but it is going to log in it into the log file called name.log. Then you have an information about zone here. This is the zone setting. Now what zone information it has here is dot. Dot means root hint. The type is root hint, and the file which has the root hint server's information is this file. And we have already seen this file name.ca, which contains all the information about root hint servers. Then it says include the configuration from this file, and from here it is including the domain information of local domain, localhost.local domain. So if when you start the service without doing any changes, then what happened, it will use this zone information from this file, and it will start working for only localhost.local domain. And this is for the security key, it is loading this file. Now we don't want to have this, we don't want to make it as a caching only server. We want to make this server as a domain server, local server for our example.com. So we have to make our domain information just like this root hint zone information. So we have to make our zone information is also like this. So we have two options. Either we can make the entry into this file, or it will be loaded by this include command here, or we can directly make the zone information into this main configuration files. So we have option here to do that. So either we can add our example.com's zone information here in this file, and it is going to be loaded with this command, or we can add it here into this main configuration file. So it depends on us what we want to do. So now what I will do, I will configure the zone information in this main configuration file directly. So we can add information here in this file also, and also we have to add it like this. That means a zone information we have to add it like this. Forward zone information we have to add it like this, and reverse zone information we have to add it like this. So now we want to configure it like this for our domain. Now we can configure it directly here in this file, that is the RFC 1912, or we can configure it in our main configuration file. Both will work because this file is also loading with this command. So if we configure it here, it will also work, and if we configure on main configuration file, it will also work. So I'm going to configure it in my main configuration file here. So before configuring here, before adding the information here, I will make it comment here that this will be my forward zone. So this is, I have added comment here for that forward zone and reverse zone. Now this will be my forward zone. Now my domain name is example.com. So here I will add a domain name for forward zone configurations. Example.com. Then here type, you will decide here whether you want to have a master server or slave server. But remember, before creating the slave server, you have to create master server first. So first you will create the master server, then you can create the slave server. So first you will create master server, and the next when you create slave server, so you will mention here slave, and next option you will mention that your master server is this, your master server, and you will mention the IP for that master server. But we have not made any master server, so we will do what? We will configure this server as a master server. Now next, this file command have an information about the file which contain the information records of this forward zone. So I will mention the file name as a name.forward. You can mention any name, and this file is not there, and we have to create this file now. Remember, the file is not created, but we have to create the file after doing these configurations. So I am giving the name as name.fwd. You can give any, but remember you have to create the file into the database directory of DNS. Now next is what? Allow update. Now allow update means what? Whenever you are having a big network, you may have DHCP also, and that means what? DHCP can update the IP addresses of clients. So when DHCP updates the IP address of the client will do what? It will update the new record into DNS server also, and that updates is done by the client itself. Now if your server is not secure, that means anyone can do the update here. What happened in Active Directory? You have a Active Directory security by default available, so it is dynamic update is available there. But here if you use dynamic update, that is allow update. Now allow update, you will, if you want dynamic, then you will allow update to the DHCP server. You will give DHCP server IP here, and that DHCP server will anytime when you change the IP for the client, it will update the record here in this DNS server. But because right now it is not secure to allow this automatic update and allow update. So by default, mostly for this server, for Linux server, we don't allow this automatic update because it is not secure. So once you have configured the security for this, then you can do this. But right now I will go for none. I'm not allowing any update for this record for the DNS server. Next I have to add one more option here, that is allow query. Remember, allow query we have already added, and we have added for the DNS server, but especially for this zone I have to add the again allow query, so that anyone can update the query, anyone can query this zone also. We can have multiple zone in the DNS server, and we can have different zone for different domain for query also. So you have to add this option for allowing the query. So I am going for any here also, so that anyone can also allow the query, anyone can also query this also. Now this is what my forward zone information. Now I will configure the reverse zone. Now in the reverse zone we give an information as an ARPA address. So whatever the IP address you have, whatever the domain address, whatever the network address you have to add it here in the reverse zone, and you have to add it as a reverse. Like you can see there 127.0.0.1, but it is added as a reverse order. This is the ARPA style of adding the reverse zone information. So in Windows, what happened when you configure in Windows, you give the reverse address normally, but basically internally it goes like this. So we will do what? We are adding our network address, that is what 192.168.1. So I will add it here, and that I will add in reverse order. As you see, 192.168.1. Now remember, the last part I am not adding here, the host part, because that I will add into the database file, and that database file will be this. So I will mention the name here for the database file, and I am going to mention it like name.rev. Remember, this file is also not there, and I have to create this file again. And this one is also the master server.